I'm there if you need me, you know, but yeah, I was right. You.
No, like and everything.
I think that would be a good spot.
You know why? You know why? So you,
I didn't say that.
I know. what you're saying.
Hi, Lori.
Hello. How's it going?
I'm going fine for me, thank you.
Good.
You're good. You're-
We're old news.
No, they're still paying attention.
I know they are. Oh, boy, do I know they are.
We can't move.
Yeah.
I'm tired of going. That's nice. Yeah. When I talk to them, there's no.
I'll turn this over to
That we do.
and
Yeah,
I've already,
yeah,
I
yeah.
got Lord here back on my phone.
For the state.
Oh, good. And
How are you? Oh, boy, I got it.
man, I had a dream about you. Jesus.
Hey, John.
We went on vacation together.
Oh, that ain't.
Hi, John. Hi.
Why? You have no sense of adventure.
We see you in the camera.
Where did we go?
No, I was in.
Well, it was a kayaking trip.
I could do, I haven't kayak related.
Well, I do both. So
Yeah,
I couldn't, I just happened.
January and February.
and then it will be, actually,
No, I
my
went
first love was
December,
kayaking.
January,
We never
and
kayaked
February,
anymore.
March. Strawberry Fest.
Why not see with the kayak? It wasn't a kayak.
Actually, and more stuff.
Yeah.
So we might be able to make this vacation work.
Walk in here and crutches.
I'll still go. She's invited every time.
Really? In Mexico? Oh, there gotta be a story to that.
Monica, are we gonna have Christina?
Yeah, she's coming.
Okay. What do you know about, do you know about Mary? Is married, you know?
Mary's not gonna make it. She's not back yet.
I had two places. One time I bought the first one in 2010. I'll wait it down. So, I told you, 3 years ago.
Hey.
Or somebody, you know, somebody, doesn't have to be him, but somebody.
Mine, this one's just.
You know, I was like, when I was a year and a half old, did you know that?
Somebody throw you?
No, I crawled out of the crib, fell on my shoulder. No,
Well, I did.
They didn't make them fall.
and I hear if you go to Mexico and you drink too much, your life will want to have your.
Unfortunately, that was.
We're live, just so you
Oh,
know.
I'm sorry. Well, I'll say it louder then.
I don't want to miss out.
Especially when it's not true.
Floors and water don't.
I just know.
Marble floor and water. Wow.
Okay,
It's-
all right, so let's call it to order. Becca, you wanna come roll?
5, 10, 5, that gone down there.
Mike Burke,
Present.
Sandra Durlock. Here. John Manson,
Here.
Christine Bob. Here. Tom Stewart.
Yes.
Monica McHugh.
Here. All right. Do I have a motion and a second for the approval of last month's minutes?
So,
I have a move.
One second.
Move in a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Okay. Lori, you want to start us off with the work session for the agenda or for the ordinance?
Okay, so let's just start at the beginning here. By the way, the Sound of Music was on last night.
I know, I saw
Let's
that.
start at the very beginning.
Yep.
Start at the very beginning, a very good place to start.
Yeah, there it is. Okay. So, I keep reading through this, I know the intent where you guys are going with it. Hi, John.
Hi.
And guys, see what's in red. And, so adding just that other words because of where we're going with the scenic byway, that wide brush stroke there.
Yes.
So, while balancing the concerns of preserving the natural beauty, visual resources, protecting natural resources, water quality, wildlife, tourism, and other economic draws of Jackson County, Iowa. Do you guys want to keep that or?
I think we should. Yeah.
Okay. And I'm gonna keep notes here. Okay. So we didn't add anything else on page 1.
Okay.
We didn't make a decision on page 2. We didn't make a decision, you didn't make a decision last month that we, about the fall zone. My suggestion was that we remove that since we are no longer using any of that language in our ordinance. Because everything's property line, road right of way, or utilities.
I think that's something that probably should come out. Discussion. On that.
One is not in there, we stay little.
I don't see any problem with just following it.
Okay.
Do I have a motion and a second to remove the fall zone?
I'll move to remove the fall zone definition.
And I have a second, all in favor of removing fall zone?
Supposed to have some discussion.
Oh, you're right, sorry. Any other discussion on that?
No.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, let's go ahead and remove the fall zone.
All right, so we're taking out the falls and stuff. I have the first part of this for you, so it's on page 2. Christine made the motion, Tom second. All right, so we'll move on to page. Well, here, I'm gonna go through all my books, so I know where to go to. So we're gonna go to page 4 then. Okay. We, talking to our assistant county attorney, we didn't have, you had view shed, we're using that language in the ordinance now. And we didn't have a definition. So you guys look over that definition. And I did look up and get a little bit of help on that.
Is anybody opposed to adding this definition of view shed? Do I have a motion and a second to accept this definition of view shed?
So moved.
Second. Okay. Motion and a second. Any other discussion on this?
I just would like to say, I think this really much better, represents what we're looking for than, what we've been using before. So I was real pleased when came up with this.
Well, it goes back to that first memorandum for the for the moratorium,
Mhm.
because that was what some of the initial concerns was, the scenic byways and,
Yeah. 5 miles
And-
arbitrary, so to speak.
yeah, this kind of pulls the 5 miles and makes it less arbitrary.
Right.
Mhm.
So, I actually did talk to somebody from another county today, and they applauded
Mhm.
the route that this is taking.
Mhm.
Because they said it's highly defendable and it removes arbitrary things out of it. So that was coming from actually Johnson County, you guys.
Okay.
So,
All right, do I have a motion and a second? Oh, it is. Or it is.
so who was, you got it?
I motion my second.
Okay,
Okay.
sorry. All in favor of adding this definition of review shed?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, thanks, Lori. I appreciate that.
Yep, no problem. All right, and then under visual resources, just adding that word view sheds into that definition.
Do I have a motion and a second to add view shed? Or view shed, sorry, I have a motion
Second.
and I have a second. Any other discussion? All in favor of adding view shed to visual resources?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Okay. So we're gonna go to page 5. If anyone sees anybody jump in, let me know, because we don't have anybody
Online.
online. Are you seeing anything? Anyone jump in?
Mhm.
Because I'm not seeing anybody joining, which kind of scares me.
Yeah.
All right, so on page 5. All right, under number 15, page 5. We were looking for better wording for that. If you guys want to skim through that whole paragraph. This is under and what we're dealing with here is for citing, approval, and application requirements.
I would just say that. I think does make some sense to me is the part that's in parentheses, the expenses to be covered by the owner of the CWEX unit. Seems like that's not the appropriate spot,
Okay,
but I don't know where it's gotta go, but it seems like we should go. To be chosen by Jackson County Board of Supervisors, and Jackson County Engineer. Without that part being in there, but it needs to be there, but I don't know where it needs to be. That's my thoughts.
Maybe we move that after the decommissioning costs, parentheses, expenses to be covered by the owner of the CWEX unit.
Right in the beginning there. you mean?
Yeah, and bonding amount shall be reviewed by a third party.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
So let's move expenses to be covered by the owner of the CWEX unit after the decommissioning costs.
Get it right up front where you can see it.
Yeah,
maybe it should be after bonding. and all.
I think it should probably be after decommissioning costs.
Perfect, that's fine.
Well, you're right, and bonding amount.
Cost and bonding seems to be one thought.
And
Bonding
bonding amount,
comma,
comma,
It should be-
expenses to be
Well,
covered.
No, it shouldn't have to be a comma, just with parentheses and everything.
You can just could you just get rid of the parentheses and just say the decommissioning cost and bonding amount to be covered by the owner of the CWEX.
Unit.
Yeah, we can keep it where it is.
No, move it up.
No, move it up.
Decommissioning
Okay.
costs and bonding
That's
amount,
more your thing.
forget the
Chris, what
parentheses.
do you-
Yeah, we, okay, got it.
Expenses to be covered by the owner of the CWEX,
Yeah.
instead of breaking it up with commas and parentheses.
Got it.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay,
Okay. So
Alright.
move expenses to be covered by the owner of the CWEX unit. After comma. After bonding amount, comma.
No,
expense-
that's the plain decommissioning costs and
Bonding
bonding
amount,
amount, expenses to be covered by the owner.
yes,
Okay,
okay.
so do I have a motion to add this language with the change? Of expenses to be covered by the owner of the CWEX unit?
And then can I just say one thing also, then, like in that last sentence where we have DE hyphen, can we just make sure decommissioning is all the same throughout again?
Yep,
Yeah,
thank you. And, we'll talk towards the end of the meeting about getting help with formatting
Yeah.
before the next meeting.
Mhm.
Yes. Chris, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
all right, do I have a motion and a second?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All right, any other discussions on this addition? If not, all in favor of adding?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, okay, Lori, go ahead.
All right. All right. So. Number 16. Remember we took out all the language for non-CWEX
Mhm.
out of this ordinance.
Yep.
So that's why I green-lined that out to show that we've done that. And also just kind of as a reminder that that was all removed. Okay,
Do I have a motion and a second to remove and non-CWEX and?
I'll make a motion.
A second.
All right, motion and a second, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
okay.
let's move on.
All right, we're gonna continue down lower in that page on page 6. The applicant shall provide mapping of any sensitive areas within 1,320 feet radius of the proposed site and follow water quality protections. Excuse me, as indicated in section 8. So, that was added, let me just see what that did look like real quick originally, from last meeting. That was a lot longer sentence. That was a much longer paragraph from last month. The applicant shall provide mapping of any sensitive areas with 1,320 feet radius of the proposed site. No CWEX shall be built within 1,000 feet of any known or mapped sensitive areas. No CWEX shall be built between 1,000 and 1,300 feet. Well, excuse me, 4 CWEX built between 1,000 and 1,300 feet of sensitive areas. A mitigation plan which shows a buffer strip of perennial grasses or native trees with a minimum 30-foot width around the sensitive area. It describes everything in section 8. There's no sense in adding all that language there. So that was the reasoning behind that modification, because it just redirects everything to section 8 for the requirements. Okay. You guys good with that?
I move that we change 21 to the revisions provided.
I'll second.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, okay. Let's move on to page 7.
Okay, I knew the intent here, you guys, and we weren't hitting it. Because the intent for the lighting was not to permit anything in the county if ADLS was not an option with, FAA. Am I right on that? Because you wanted the lighting or no tower was my understanding.
Yeah,
Or the special lighting system that only turned on. So, basically how it says now, it just added in the phrase permits will not be allowed for CWEX where FAA won't allow ADLS.
Okay, so it's either you have ADLS or you don't have a tower. I think that's,
Okay.
yeah, that was the intent, yes.
Okay. All right, so I think we covered it. And my note at the bottom says it didn't go deep enough to prohibit anything without ADLS, the new language in red.
And you're taking out the word towers and putting CWEX?
Yes, if I may,
Okay.
right.
yeah.
All right, do I have a motion and a second to add permits will not be allowed for towers where the FAA won't allow ADLS?
I make a motion that says CWEX instead of towers.
And that permits will not be allowed?
Yeah,
for-
yeah, right,
Yep,
right.
okay. So I have a motion, do I have a second?
Sure, second.
Okay. Any other discussion on the ADLS? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right,
All right, same page. There was talk about waste disposal. And we didn't know which route to go. That was, or you didn't know which route to go for the November 15th meeting. There was discussion about cutting blades on site. I reached out with an email to a rep from NextEra. And then I reached out again last week, found out that he's out sick. And then I did get a phone call from one of their other consultants. But didn't get an actual answer. He knows what he thought, but he doesn't know, so we're not even gonna discuss what
Right.
that
Right.
was. But you can see what we did with the language up there. It's a little broad, but it tells basically what you were asking for. And not affect neighboring landowners, land, waterways, surface or groundwater, or leach into sinkholes.
I'd say it covers it.
do I have a motion and a second adding and not affect neighboring landowners' land?
Have a spelling correction.
Landowners should have an apostrophe after the S.
Got it?
Leach is LEACH.
Yeah.
Draining. Purposes.
Got it.
All right, so add. So on neighboring landowners, I think what I would do on that one is landowner apostrophe. And then parentheses around the S, is that correct, Chris?
And it used to be, there wouldn't be one there at all. But I would say after the S, yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
You can either add another S or not.
And landowners is one word or two?
landowners is one.
Okay. All right.
All right, so do I have a motion to add red with the correction on landowners? And and the correction for leach? Do I have a motion and a second?
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
No second.
All right, in a second, any other discussion?
Well, I was really hoping you'd get some more depth, definitive answer on what their mitigation was. That's what we were hung up on the last time, is if they were gonna cut them up, what the mitigation would be. So, yeah, I see what you're saying. This is pretty broad. And says, so it's not gonna affect the other or any neighbors, I guess that covers it, but that's pretty.
I
Can we
agree,
wait,
Tom.
can we make that correction and wait till you back and maybe revisit
So-
that?
My concern.
We
is
can,
we're
I'm
not
gonna vote
get-
for it. Yeah, I'm gonna vote for it. It's just, I wish it was more clear.
Yeah, I think though, the broader we go, I think we cover more. I think if we wait for them, I don't think we'll ever
Right.
get an answer.
Okay, well, like I
Because they won't wanna
said,
be pinned down.
yeah,
Exactly. So if we make a broader,
We have more leeway.
yes,
okay.
that's
Yeah,
my
like I said-
thinking.
Like I said, it's not like I wasn't gonna vote for it. I just wish it was a little more clear cut.
Yeah.
So,
And if you guys want to vote for it, it's moving forward.
yeah.
And then we can see if I have something else that comes our way before the next meeting.
Yeah,
How's that?
And then we could change it or not.
Or not.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, so I have a motion, right? Right, okay, do I have a second?
Sure.
I said,
Okay, sorry. Any other discussion on that? If not, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, let's move on to the next one.
all right, I'll be on page 8. So under setbacks, so we're still talking 1,500-foot property line setbacks. 15, and that includes neighboring properties, public right of ways, basically roads, and communication electrical lines. The language that you talked about last time was, could we say no waivers from neighboring property owners? That answer came back yes from the county attorneys.
Okay,
And, even if you're not allowing waivers from property lines, what you talked about, you still wanted to be able to, for the neighbors to request waivers from, shadow flicker and sound.
yeah.
So, but anyway, so just adding to this, you can see where the formatting issues are, Chris, in this. No waivers, from neighboring property owners will be allowed to request closer property line setbacks.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if I got a problem with that or not, because we're not allowing setbacks or waivers on setbacks from property lines, but we are allowing setback or waivers on shadow flicker. It seems to me that's cross purposes.
At property lines though, so a lot of these are gonna be. Part of the reason for not adding the setback, waivers for setbacks is you're working on spacing and density. And so that would be a reason to not to allow the setbacks from the property lines. However, the shadow flicker, some of these shadow flickers are gonna be on someone's back 40. And they're not gonna have a problem with it being on their back 40. Mind you, you already got 1,500-foot setback
Yeah.
from a property line.
Yeah, but where I'm going with is if you have a neighbor that's, willing, because they've got some agreement made to, waive a setback, then we're saying, no, you can't, even if it would be beneficial to the neighbor, we're saying, no, you can't do that.
And I think it all comes back down to density and preserving view shed. And, man, where's my language?
Yes, somebody up there.
And if you go back to the original purpose,
Got somebody joining. James McDonald.
oh, he's already in.
Yeah, he said, yeah.
You got-
So if you go back to the original purpose, the original purpose is preserving the natural beauty, the visual resources. So that goes back to the 1,500-foot property line setbacks.
Right,
And in all reality, are you gonna get any or many people requesting a waiver for property line shadow flicker?
I don't know, but we talk about, landowners' rights and stuff, and so, then, what we're doing here by saying, no, they can't make some agreement and waive the setback, then you're kind of in a way infringing on their landowner rights as well. I mean, I'm just going with a situation if, you know, if a neighbor has no problem with that. And they come up with some, because, you know, early on, we had talked about good neighbor agreements.
Mhm.
And we're basically saying, no, we're not gonna allow that.
Right,
And so I guess I have a problem with that.
okay,
I understand that too. I understand what you're saying, because if this neighbor is gonna benefit financially somehow, or
Yeah.
possibly. Why does that restrict him from doing that if it's, you know, and it's back 40 also,
Yeah, so,
you know, his property is, you know.
you know, I'm just one vote, but that's where I'm coming from on that. I just, you know,
maybe
I don't-
Fair. All around, yeah.
yeah, it does create, you know, other, you know, opportunities for the shadow flicker. And well, that's the thing is too, if they ask for a property line setback and we're allowing them, you're probably gonna need, I mean, if you allow the waivers, you'd probably also have to be allowing for, the other waivers would probably come into play at that time. There'd probably be 3 waivers potentially. And then at what distance, is the cutoff?
Then you end up with clusters of these things as opposed to.
Yeah, it's gonna go against what we're saying and you know, preserving the natural beauty and visual resources. Yeah, you just let me know where you guys want to go, and I've been trying to follow you guys, but
I know, and we did say that we wanted something like this. But I agree, Tom, you know, if somebody wants to put one on and they come to their neighbor and say, hey, I want to put it at 1,400 feet instead of 1,500 feet.
What if the next
Well-
neighbor doesn't want it? So what if
Well,
they sell
you know
the
what? They
property?
don't-
What if they sell the property and this new owner says, I don't want that?
But we can't look at that. We have to look at what it is now. So if
And
this,
so that's gonna be up to the new property owner
That's
to
what
look
you
at
have to
that
do, property owner, just like,
before he buys the property.
yeah, just like if somebody has a hog building
It's
next
like if
to it.
there's an
Right.
easement registered against any of your, you know, not registered against their type, you know, whatever you wanna call it, on your property, that goes with the property. Different than somebody's got an easement through your property to get to their pasture,
Mhm.
you know? And then all the new owner says, can't come along and say, no, I don't want that. It's in the agreement, original agreement, right?
But if somebody buys it, that should be disclosed in the real estate documents, and that's not something that
Yes,
right,
that is
Right,
not
that's
something,
that's the new owner's responsibility to
Right.
find that.
that's not the responsibility of the zoning board.
Exactly.
Right. Right, that's my thought. And I understand that that could happen. You know, that somebody may buy property. Not just this ordinance, some other easement
Right.
that's going on that. They didn't realize was there.
well, if they're looking at a property and they can't see it, they got it.
Well, that's what I mean. Okay, so this shouldn't be any different than any other easement.
And actually, the easement
It's not exactly.
wouldn't
easement, but
be
it's-
through their property necessarily, but just a waivers saying that there's, I realize that this wind turbine is closer to my property than the prescribed 1,500 feet that is set forth in the Jackson County zoning ordinance regarding wind turbines.
And that should be caught on the title opinion.
I would think,
So, but that's not something that the zoning board
That's
currently should be responsible for. That's not our responsibility. Our responsibility is what is current right now. So do we want to or not allow waivers?
Well, let's vote and find out.
Okay,
Wait, I got a question. Can we vote to restrict on the distance?
Well,
Distance on the
that's
waiver?
what this is. No waivers from neighboring property owners will be allowed to request closer property line setbacks. That's what this
But can we
part
say
is.
whether they're, 1,400 or 200? I mean,
But that, if we put this
No.
in, they can't do it.
I know,
No, but
At all.
I think what Chris is trying to say is,
restrict the
no,
distance. on the
restrict
waiver.
the amount of this, of the the way.
Variance.
That you're gonna be able to do kind of thing, so rather than, it can't be 500 feet,
Or then the
But
next
maybe,
neighbor
but
says
you know
500.
what? But,
1,000, but I don't know whether you can do that or not, I don't.
but here's the other part of that.
We might need to add back in fall zone, you guys.
I was just.
Haven't
Just gonna
gotten that
say
far
that.
yet, Lori.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just it. If you've got an agreement with your neighbor. I'm really torn because. We want to preserve for Jackson County residents. However. If you've got a neighbor that you get along with. And don't have any issues. And the wind turbine company says, hey, I'll give you this much money to do it. Where do you go from there? I mean, is that our responsibility to say, no, you can't? I don't know.
Then you go to back to what is the visual beauty of Jackson County?
But if
Which
it's
is-
between, between two neighbors.
But for the visual beauty, that first one still would not be able to do it. And so if that first one can't do it, the second one definitely can't do it.
That would be true.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Mhm.
The visual thing
I mean,
shouldn't make
the
that
second
bad,
one
really.
shouldn't matter because if it's affecting the beauty, first one can't
First
get it
one.
done.
Okay, so-
With the waiver.
Without-
With the waiver,
The second one.
they would be able to do that.
Can I just, I was trying to get to my maps, but I don't drive very well in here. So you guys can all visualize a quarter, which is
Mhm.
40 acres,
Mhm.
1,320 feet across. All right, in most counties, you could actually get a wind turbine with 40 acres on that property, because most of them have a 1.1 setback. So that would be 660 feet
Right.
on each side of that turbine,
Which we've restricted to.
which
the
you've
220.
restricted. So you just, if you can get neighbors to agree, you've just made this to where you can get potentially a wind turbine on less than, well, right now it's gonna take way more land than that, just to get one turbine with the setbacks.
Mhm.
But you're opening up, what are you getting? Well, the view shed, that could come into play anyway, even if there was a waiver. There could be other things that could potentially come into play with wildlife. Could be other things that come into play if they're not in the buffer area.
I just
That's a great
assume
river road.
with as many restrictions as we've got, I think. We're layering over layer over layer, and I would just personally, I'd just soon not go into restricting, land rights.
Am I hearing a motion from you?
No, we already got the motion, on the table, I think what we ought to do is vote on the original motion, and if it fails, then we'll go from there.
Okay,
And if it passes, then it passes. It's not the first time I would have been on the backside of a vote, so, I'm not worried about that.
So the
Okay.
motion is to allow waivers.
yes, all right, so,
No, the motion was to not allow waivers.
right, so keep what you've got in here in red, that's
Oh.
the first motion, so let's
Excuse me.
vote on the motion that we have.
Yeah, the motion,
That
yeah.
keeps no waivers from neighboring property owners will be allowed to request closer property line setbacks.
Right.
Okay, this one, I think we need a roll call vote. Becca, would you call with me being last?
Yes.
Before we vote.
Yeah.
So to acquire this waiver, they have to go to the planning.
Well, what we're
No.
voting on is, we're not allowing.
We're
it.
not allowing it.
This is a straight no way.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
That's
Well, I
what
was
the
just
motion-
wondering, okay.
Yeah, that's
My
what the motion
question
What's
was,
out there?
if we did allow the waivers, how do they go about getting the waiver?
Okay, so let's vote on this.
know that.
I would rather know but before we
What
vote
the
on this.
process is.
Well, it wouldn't,
We've got a motion out there in a second.
we're
Already
still-
for the no wa- no
we're still in
waivers. Okay.
discussion, though, they can discuss that part.
Would you like me to answer that question?
Yes, please.
From your view,
Right?
So my understanding would be that when the owners of the CWEX, owner developers of the CWEX are making application for their tower, that would be part of the required paperwork, that they would present from the adjoining landowner stating that they wish to waive their setback rights.
So the adjoining landowner would put in writing that he's okay with a waiver that it's closer than 1,500 foot.
Right, it would be probably a document that's pre-prepared by the development company that would be hopefully signed, notarized, reviewed,
Whatever, yeah, whatever.
and,
So that doesn't go to the Board of Adjustment or anything?
it still would, but it'd be part of the application packet.
Yeah.
Oh, so then the whole thing would be turned down or approved? It would be turned down with a waiver or approved with the waiver, and that would be part of the whole contract.
Yeah, that would be part of the Board of Adjustment case,
Okay.
but right now you're looking at the no's, so we'll see if we gotta discuss if.
Okay. I'll call for a vote. Becca, if you would call everyone with me meeting last.
Mike Burke,
No,
Sandra Gerlach,
No,
John Manson,
I want to understand what I'm voting for here. Am I voting no waivers from neighboring property owners will be allowed to request closer property line setbacks?
Yes.
Yes,
so if you do not want waivers allowed, you would say
yes.
yes. If you-
I don't want waivers allowed.
So
Yes.
you are a yes vote.
Christina Pop.
Yes.
Tom Stewart,
No,
Monica McEwen,
No.
okay, so we will strike that language. Or, hang on, I'll make it match what we have for sound and shadow flicker, okay? Allowing it.
Yes.
So then. Do we need a motion? For that, or do we just by default going into that position?
I think it's by default. We go into that position.
Cause,
This
and I'll
is just a
just,
specific one,
Yeah.
not to allow it.
That's the way I view it too. I just want to make sure we're all clear.
so under the sound, the language for it is the owners of adjacent property may voluntarily agree by written and recorded waiver to a higher average hourly decibel level as measured from any property line of a non-participating parcel. So what I just read is out of 12E.
Okay. All right.
And then we have pretty much similar language, under shadow flicker. So,
Right.
I'm just making a quick note, you guys.
Their property.
And the thing is, this doesn't have to be on the back 40, you know, because this
Yeah, it
could
could be
be
anywhere, yeah.
anywhere
Yeah.
on there, you know, close to that
Yeah.
neighboring property line.
Right.
Okay. So let's
I
just
have
keep,
one question on that. So the shadow flicker and the sound, is that like the other waiver, is that part of the initial agreement?
that would be part of the
That would
application.
go, so how are they gonna know if they're gonna have shadow flicker on there?
Because
And the thing is up.
Because they have to
no,
do
they
this computer
gotta
model
do
before.
computer modeling. We've got that written in.
All right, okay. I'm good then.
So, because right now, if you remember, right, you guys did make changes to the language about 0-hour shadow flicker.
Right,
And then you've also, and that's at the property line,
right,
not a structure.
right.
And you also added, just the sound not to exceed the, what was it, 1545? I forget what we have in there.
Yeah,
We've-
some pretty low
Mhm.
number at the
Just
property
50.
line.
Yeah, just 50 at the property. line.
So basically where we're at with all three of those is it's the property line unless a neighbor decides that it's to his benefit to grant waivers.
Mhm.
And so I think that's, I'm comfortable with that.
Mhm.
All right, so moving on, and I'm not seeing any green or any other language till we get to page 12. So let
Well,
me
we
go
have,
on
we have,
10.
we have something on 9 also.
Excuse me, what I
We have one thing
missed?
on 9.
Oh, on the shadow flicker.
Well, on page 9, there's.
Oh, wait a minute, I'm gonna go.
Page 9, there's.
Oh, change to 3 years there, up in the
Oh,
second
yeah,
paragraph.
Oh, excuse me, gosh, am I going colorblind here?
no, you're not.
Scroll
Down
Maybe-
the
maybe
the
you
next
are.
page.
I might be, I can see it, but it's like, it didn't
Yeah.
pop out to me.
Yeah, no doctor, but I play when I play.
Okay.
TV.
So this was almost sound analysis. There's some other language that we have, and we can come back to this if you want. There's some other language that was every 3 years. That was like on the wildlife mitigation plan, and I forget what other things there might have been. I'd
Yeah,
have
we
to.
did, we moved the rest of it to 3 years.
Because the reason I suggested changing this from 5 to 3 is just to keep everything consistent and knowing.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
a zoning administrator is having to monitor
Mhm.
this stuff, somebody's gonna have to monitor it.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be
Because you could be doing something.
You're not
one
gonna be here
turn
the
around
next 50
year, have to do
years?
something.
not next 50, no ma'am. No,
Okay,
In that spirit, on 12D, I'd move that we change it to 3 years instead of 5 years.
okay.
do I have a second?
Everything else is 3 years.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, any other discussion on this? All in favor of changing the 5 to 3 to match the rest of the ordinance? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. All right, okay.
So am I missing anything else, you guys? I can see it better on my screen than I can my paper.
We had
Page
14,
10.
Yeah,
Page
page
10.
10 on
It's
shadow
a lot.
letters.
Shut-
Trying to figure out, how that's supposed to be written to begin with.
Oh, I kind of got a typo in there. Don't I?
Oh, the 9 needs to come out.
Yeah,
That still doesn't make sense. And written consent from the affected property.
I can change that wording on that to mirror the owners of adjacent property may voluntarily agree by written and recorded waiver.
I think that's how that should read.
Okay. I mean, it'll say the same thing, just be cleaned up a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
The
if you would
same
read,
thing that's on 12, number 12E on page 9.
right, so if you would, all right, so. So if you were to repeat that, Lori, and do I have a motion in a second?
To rewrite that part about shadow flicker to mirror the owners of adjacent property may voluntarily agree by written and recorded waiver to a higher
Shadow flicker.
shadow flicker for shadow flicker to exceed the maximum number of hours per year. Well, which are for us is 0.
Right,
So I can write it to exceed 0 hours.
yes.
Okay.
And in all of those, do we need those commas in there? Because grammatically, if you have things in commas, it's supposed to be the same with it or without it, but if you take that out of there, it's not the same. So after agree and after waiver, can those commas be eliminated?
Yeah.
Yes, on 12E, well, anywhere it is,
So
because
take,
it reads the same.
okay, so remove the comments.
Right, because it's important to have that by written and recorded as part of the statement. Right?
That's
good. Well, I mean, if that's what's supposed to be in the common.
Yeah.
And actually, as I read it, I'm like, yeah, it can come
Get rid of
out.
those.
Yeah,
We'll have Chris proofread or it's.
I should.
We should proofread together.
oh, that would be
Sandra, text Chris.
Sandra and Chris.
Together.
Yeah.
That would work.
Mhm.
I think you two tag
Yes,
even
I
would
think
be,
that
all
would be good.
right. So have we, you guys make all your, made your vote on that one?
No, so do I have a motion to change? Lori reworded,
13 BI.
And I'll make note in red again what I changed, so you guys can review it through next meeting, okay?
yeah, so. If it, would you repeat what you said, and then if I can have a motion and a second for it?
The owners of adjacent property may voluntarily agree by written and recorded waiver to for shadow flicker to exceed 0 hours.
Yes. Okay,
Clear.
per year. So do I have a
I'll make a
motion?
motion for
Okay,
that.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, and a second. Any other discussion on that? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Motion carried on that.
Okay,
Okay, so our next one is,
roads, avoidance and mitigation damage of the public infrastructure. And if you go straight to page 12, read this. The county engineer reread through his previous suggested language and found issues with it. He found the above language from a larger county that he finds solid and knows that they have, good legal backing that really went through things. And it's not full of arbitrary figures.
okay,
And after he read it, because I had a few questions for him, he's kind of like, well, what if it's only a 1/4 mile stretch of road and not a 2 mile stretch of road? It's like, I can't require this kind of money for,
right,
For that.
exactly.
so this is, I think this was Johnson County that, a lot of this language came from, might have been Lynn, but, one of those big boy counties.
But anyway, section 5 has got the stamp of approval of our county engineer.
Yes.
Yes.
And, yes,
Okay. That's it.
it follows the law.
That's it.
All right. So
So these are changes that are written in black and red, right?
Yes.
So we need to.
we need to
Motion
approve, yeah,
approve it as
Yeah.
written.
yes.
I'll make the motion to approve it as written. Section 5.
All right. Do I have any other discussion on the county engineer's comments or rewriting of the mitigation for the public infrastructure? If not, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carried. We will keep that.
Okay, now we're getting to the stuff I know that's gonna be time consuming, you guys. This took up a lot of our discussion last month about the discontinuation, catastrophic failure, and decommissioning.
So here's my concern. Above ground, I think the zoning board should be able to determine because it's visible. My concern is the underground because it belongs to a property owner. And when we start getting into how much should be removed, number one, this is also in the contract between the CWEX and the property owner. We can't dictate what is in the contract. That is not our purpose. If the property owner wants to have more of it removed, I really believe that that is a contract negotiation between the CWEX and the property owner. And I will go back to one of my discussions earlier. If we start dictating how much of the stuff can be removed, are we gonna start dictating to every farmer in the area who removes a barn that they have to remove the entire foundation of what's remaining? That's my concern. If you've got a beginning farmer, he's got to tear down a barn, he cannot afford to take out the foundation of it. Are we gonna dictate that they're gonna have to remove that? I have a real problem with talking about below ground.
And it's here just because it's boilerplate.
Exactly, it's a boilerplate. Do we have, I mean, what's in the contract? We don't know. We can state this, but what's going to supersede? What's in the variance, what's in the ordinance, or what's in the contract?
Yeah, I've been all over the board on this one. I get what you're saying. And again,
I mean,
and again,
seriously.
And then again, if we go back to landowners' rights, then it's really up to the landowner to negotiate the contract. I mean, yeah, zoning above ground where it's, other people can see it. That's one thing, but below ground, if he's leaving, if he's negotiating the contract that it doesn't get removed, he's leaving it there, then that affects the price of his land, which we shouldn't care about as zoning.
Exactly, it's not our responsibility because we're not gonna handhold property owners with their contracts. That's not what we're here for. We are here for the zoning,
Right.
which is above ground. And it's not our responsibility to teach somebody how to negotiate a contract and to speak with an attorney. That is not our responsibility.
I go along with that too, but I sit here and think, okay, so even above ground, and I don't get me wrong, if the tower is not working and they need to come down, they need to come down, but let's say we have a property that's zoned commercial and there's a building on it and it's dilapidated, okay, gone downhill, it's an eyesore. We didn't take that building down, do we?
We can,
That's part of our nuisance
we can,
violation.
because that's part of the nuisance.
Okay,
So above ground, I get it.
so would that be considered, everything above ground be considered nuisance then?
It could be.
What about all these old houses and barns around the county then? I mean,
That's.
do they fall into that? Because this is on
It's
agricultural ground.
agricultural.
That's
ground,
so,
Because these
no-
CWACs are gonna be on agricultural ground.
Exactly, yeah, so I mean, in agriculture ground, there's a lot of old barns and stuff that probably should be coming down.
Well, wait,
But we don't have we don't have any regulation over that, right?
what is the answer to that question then? Like the old barns that are falling down, the old farmhouses that are falling down, because they're on agricultural ground, you don't have recourse on them?
no, we do.
I would say yes, that might be a yes and no, because, that would be a specific question for our county attorney, because I know as far as building, no, they don't have to follow the same setbacks and get permits like I would.
Mhm.
And I'm zoned ag, but I'm not ag exempt.
Right,
That would be a specific question. I don't know. I would hope it would fall under our nuisance violations. I know there is a house on ag property that they signed. I can't remember the exact word, where they signed a agreement with the health department when they bought the house, when they bought the property, that they were gonna tear down the house within 90 days or whatever it was.
But that was a small parcel though, too,
But
correct?
it was still a farm parcel and it was still,
But it wasn't more than 10 acres, correct?
I can't remember the size. He might have had some adjoining landowner, but the deal with that particular one is that the house was there. It had a failed septic tank. They could either keep the house and install a new septic or they had 90 days to tear down the house. Because of the failed septic, because they weren't planning on using it. And, they didn't comply with the agreement that they had made, the binding agreement, there we go. They didn't comply with the binding agreement they had with the health department. And then they, brought zoning in for the nuisance property.
But
So there was a health department
there
violation.
was a health department violation because every septic now must have an inspection within 2 years of the property being sold. So that's a different story as compared to
I
wind
can,
turbine and underground. I mean,
I can ask the county attorney if we have any authority. You were asking about farms and stuff
Right.
like that. That's a different question, different day, but still, now that you bring it up, it's like, yeah, I probably better follow up on that one.
we need to follow up, but like I said, I'm really having heartburn on this one because how are we gonna go out and measure how far they've removed? I
Yeah,
mean,
I-
it's ag property.
Yeah.
Do I want the county zoning administrator to come out and measure my ground? No, I don't. If
We
I put a
don't.
wind turbine on.
And we don't have,
I don't think. we
building
get-
codes to speak of.
And that's my concern. So when we're talking about underground, I'm really having a heartburn about this because I don't think this is a zoning issue. I think this is a property owner contract with the wind turbine owner. And I don't think we need to be venturing into something like this. I think it's out of our scope. And I think we're gonna get in trouble if we start pushing on this stuff.
I'm still in favor of if it goes out of service, they need to take it down to ground level then,
I'm not opposed to that,
you know, because,
but
yeah.
I mean, underground, I mean. Are we gonna have Lori or whoever the zoning administrator is go out and dig up and make sure?
Yeah.
How can we do that?
I get that, I get that.
That is my concern.
So are there, I haven't gotten up close and I don't really remember, are there pads out there or do they look like they're in the ground?
They're in the ground, they've got pads on, I mean, they've got
Are there
pads on top. I mean,
Very
it's actually, seriously, I mean, it's.
Can we have those? Make sure they're just like
But,
covered,
but
so they're not an eyesore?
But here's the problem. Are we gonna start doing that? What about every corn crib or grain bin that's been taken down where they've got the concrete pad out there? Are we gonna start making those happen too? This is my issue here.
There's a lot of
This is
feed.
this is not a zoning ordinance. We cannot pick on wind turbines and not pick on
Other structures.
other structures. I know, Tom, but I mean,
Yeah, I get that. I'm coming around to the underground thing. I get that. You know, that's a landowner rights thing again. I can justify it that way.
I have too many attorneys in my family. That's the problem.
know, my family's lousy with them. Yeah, but I do stand by the, you know, what we've got written in there about, you know, after so long, it's gotta come down if it, you know.
I'm not opposed to that. But then again, I can play devil's advocate. How many silos have you seen that haven't been used in years that we still have up in our county that can be safety issues? I mean,
And when those last ones are coming down, what's, coming, you know, what's being distributed in the air when that harvester falls, cause I know some coming down.
We had one
and-
come
and
down
it's-
on
and-
fire for a month.
Well, and there's still some that, you know, that are, I'm having a difficult time because we're trying to manipulate something here that the majority of the citizens do not want. However, the issue that we have other structures in this county that, okay, we're going after one. when are we gonna start going after the other? And Tom, you and I have had this discussion before on stuff like this.
Yeah.
This is my concern. Because if we are going after the wind turbines, are we now gonna start going after silos and things like that?
You need to
If
staff
we don't,
up.
or we open ourselves to more lawsuits.
That's,
You need to staff up.
I mean, this. I mean, I'm,
Well, how can we clean up this,
yeah, we need to clean this up.
this, so if we do, if we decide to just keep it the above ground thing, then we can get rid of the 4 feet below, or, you know, I was talking more than that at one point, but like I said, I've been kind of all over the board on this one. I am coming in line with you on this, that we need to be thinking about commissioning or zoning above ground, not below ground.
So, but, okay, so when we come down here to Jackson County reserves the right to verify that adequate decommissioning terms are contained in the landowner easement, that would be the contract.
That's exactly, and
Right,
that's.
so
so
how it's,
We
read
weren't
what's,
privy to those
read what's
contracts.
below to that,
Yeah.
county
What
attorneys,
did you say?
like, we don't have rights to
We
that.
don't have rights to it. So, how-
Yeah. That's what
so,
I thought, so.
So that
that's-
blue language there
Yeah.
is something that I'm asking you guys
Take out.
to take out.
Yeah, that's fine, and, but we still have to keep decommissioning language in there, of course,
Absolutely.
because, we're decommissioning from the top down.
right,
I get that, maybe stop at ground level.
I really think that we should stop at ground level because, like I said, I have a family member with a C-Rex contract. I cannot get a hold of that contract. But I do know one thing that has been discussed is like the road. The road is supposed to be removed with the decommissioning. However, he doesn't want the road removed, so I think he left that alone in the contract. Can we force him to do that? No, because it's a contractual issue between the landowner and C-Wex.
Right.
We can't get in the middle of that. And, like the soil grade. How are we are we gonna go out and test that ahead of time? We're not. I'm really having heartburn about this.
I have a suggestion on how to write that.
Please, pray tell.
Would you,
Soil grade is not
Yes.
soil condition. Right? Soil
No.
grade is the level of the soil.
right,
Right. Okay. Make sure we're-
My thought on that is keep it. And pretty much leave soil grade be restored, because it doesn't say the CSRs. It doesn't say, it's just if, instead of leaving a big hole, they need to level out the way it was. So my thought is that's good language.
okay,
Because it's taking, and if it's taking out some of that sticks out, if that's what it takes to get to that level, sure, it might not be great when they're done. It might be like a borrow pit where they've
right, yeah.
replaced it with,
Junk
junk
soil.
soil, but unless there's something in that landowner's contract, but I really think that this is not bad language that's in the yellow, the soil grade. What we support.
Except we would take this,
Below,
Yeah,
I think,
so
I
they-
think that's gotta come out, I
Mhm.
really do.
Okay, so on that
So the
language,
first thing in yellow comes out.
I really think so,
I'd
because,
say part of it.
The
Also-
second thing in yellow we
The
leave
second.
in.
no, the second thing in the yellow we take out.
No, second
Oh,
thing,
wait.
yellow, leave it.
Oh, my mistake, yes.
the first and yellow, I think we need to
Take
take
out the
out.
blue,
I,
we change it with the
Yep.
other thing to 3 years.
Yep,
Mhm.
is that a motion, Mike?
That's what I was.
May
Okay.
may I before you
Yeah,
do?
yeah.
Okay, so the first part, all CWEX and accessory facilities shall be removed within 90 days of use of discontinuation.
I think that's, yes.
So leave everything in
Okay,
yellow
yeah.
other than 2 4 feet below ground level. Please. I think you're opening yourself up to some issues if you remove that whole sentence.
Yeah, I agree with that. So do it that way.
So we have a motion from you on the first one, all CWEX and accessory facilities shall be removed within 90 days of the discontinuation of use.
And also.
Let's start with the first one
I was
here.
gonna say, we're gonna do it all.
And then just do it,
Let's-
and then get rid of the blue line one too.
Okay, all right.
Well, blue line and change that and add in the thing in red down here where it says every 3 years. As long as we're doing 3 years with everything
Doing
else,
everything
right?
else.
That is my motion. If somebody, if you can understand it.
I understand it perfectly, second.
All right, any other discussion on this?
My only question was, so what do we have in place for the radio towers and things like that?
Nada.
Okay.
At this point,
Okay.
could some of that be changing? And Laura is, if you saw your new agenda,
Yes.
gonna be talking to us later but that will be something that we will be cognizant of, since we've been working on this, that there's language and cell tower language and things that probably needs to be adjusted when we're hitting that part of the rewrite.
So when we're talking about picking on one structure over another structure, that's where I'm going.
We need to go back and review. I mean, we do.
And
Because
that's,
otherwise you do leave yourself open to lawsuits.
Right.
Right,
I mean, they are different, they're different creatures,
right.
but there's some similarities, yeah.
And, comparing them to a silo, the difference is the height of any silo is nowhere near the height of this.
No,
Correct.
So, again, I think the thing with the towers is the height because of the eyesore because of the height. And they're so very visible because of that.
And,
And so
well,
it's not really fair to compare maybe a wind turbine to a silo, let alone to a radio tower, because they're all.
the view,
I-
the view shed is different.
Right, and I don't disagree with that at all. But, I mean, we do have, there are places out there that have got silos that are falling apart, which could come under nuisance. But, and that's above ground. But I mean, look at how many people that take a silo down or a grain bin down and they leave the concrete pad. Are we going after them? No. That's my concern.
Farms down with the feed floor still there.
Right.
But, it's just concrete.
I think you guys are missing the point. Foundation silos, they're farming operations. Wind turbines have nothing to do with farming.
But John, what I do know from my father-in-law's contract, it's in his contract. We can't dictate what goes into a contract. So what gets removed is in his contract. We can put whatever we want in the site, in this variance, in this
I
ordinance.
understand what you're
But
saying.
we can't dictate to them what's in their
I
contract.
don't think it's a fair comparison to compare.
But it is. It's
To
concrete.
compare agriculture, items with, wind turbines.
But we can't dictate what goes into the contract.
I didn't say you could.
And so it's between the landowner and the contract and the CWEX on what they do
I'm
underground.
not arguing that, Monica. I'm arguing that, farming operations should be farming operations. They shouldn't have anything to do with wind turbine.
But we
Played
will
out.
get that. Something will pop up and we will get that. Some attorney will come up and they will talk about it.
Well, let them talk about it. I still say that if you keep farming operations, it's just like confinements. They're different than wind turbines.
Did we get our vote that we needed?
No, we need a vote on this. Okay, all in favor of the changes?
Because we were at the point where we were discussing. And so
Okay.
now
Yeah.
We're done.
So are we done?
Okay.
Is there any other
Where we're
discussion on
at.
that?
Okay.
All right, all in favor of the changes to be made?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, let's go ahead and make those.
Okay. And, okay, I don't see anything green on page 13.
Or red or purple.
Page 14, All right, let's see where we are here. There was some concern about who the owner was. There was some discussion, so I made sure that added, developer owner, which owner in our definitions is always owner CWEX.
Yes.
Landowner is the underlying property owner.
Mhm.
And then again
So have we
here,
created another thing here since you said developer owner? That was my question. So we have owner and then we have,
developer is part of our
oh,
definition.
develop, it's not develop, something else.
And here, let me get it. We have it in our definitions.
I can't remember the word, sorry.
Um,
The definition. I looked through it today and
we have owner, or I could switch the words around, owner,
Operator.
developer, and we have operator, but it's not operating yet. This is still during, well, actually, at
We have to
that
call
point,
it operator slash developer.
we
slash
could,
owner?
we could go owner developer, or we could go,
Developer, operator.
We don't have a strictly definition for developer, that's what I'm getting at.
no, we have it under owner developer.
Owner, developer, operator.
And the operator would be the day-to-day operations after it's built. So the cost of the developer.
So we just
owner-
need to change it to owner developer. instead of-
Okay, so flip those around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, right.
Got it. You guys, this is gonna come together so much
Yeah.
faster than any of the other changes I've made so far.
Really.
I'm just like sitting here going
How much faster?
cakewalk. Oh, no, I'm thanking you guys.
All right.
I'm like, wow, you guys.
Do I have a motion and a second to change developer owner to owner developer and add every third year? Do I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any other discussion on that? All right, all in favor of those changes? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. All right, let's go to the water quality protections next then.
Okay, so you see a lot of red there. So there was talk about in our CS, there's talk about who would be the person to oversee that that's happening. So CWEX shall not be built within 1,000 feet of a known mapped sensitive area. Which remember, sensitive areas aren't just sinkholes, they're waterways, creeks, rivers, ponds. So, can't be built within 1,000 feet of a sensitive area. CWEX built within 1,320 feet of a known sensitive area must adhere to water protection plan, which includes installing and maintaining a buffer strip of perennial grasses and or native trees with a minimum of 30-foot width around the sensitive area. The work of installing and ensuring the buffer around the sensitive area is to be done by a county-approved independent third party that is qualified to install and maintain buffers, probably with an S,
Yes,
which controls runoff. Reports of compliance shall be provided to the Jackson County Board of Supervisors at the time of project completion and every 3 years after. Cost of installing and maintaining the buffer around the sensitive area incurred by the CWEX owner. Completion of the buffer strip shall be completed before the CWEX is operational. If there's more, and this was, the black is also what was in the last draft. If there are more restrictive water quality setback regulations by the state or other national regulatory or by another national regulatory agency, that will supersede this part of the ordinance.
I think you can take out completion of before the buffer strip. Just the buffer strip shall be completed before the CWEX is operational. Otherwise, it's kind of.
Okay,
yeah, you're right.
and that didn't change the intent.
No, it doesn't
No.
change the meaning.
All right, do I have a motion and a second
I'll make the motion to, that wording in this as was written here.
Okay.
Would do corrections.
So,
All right, any other discussion on this? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right,
Okay. So, number 9. Hang on here, I think I added something else that I didn't make note of, and I just wanna find it so I can make you aware of it. Yes, so section 9 currently reads state and national scenic byway visual resource protections and intrinsic areas. Intrinsic areas was added for a reason because of some of the wording that's in the corridor management plans of the scenic byways. That is one of the biggest things they're trying to protect with the scenic byways. And what that does also is it makes that 5 miles less arbitrary. I had a guy from the All-American Road, from National All-American. I talked to him and he's like, you might need to stick with viewshed. There's some areas of our area, especially on the Grantwood Scenic Byway, where viewshed is greater than 5 miles. But if we pull in the intrinsic areas, and those features, it removes some of the arbitrary stuff. And I'm gonna go ahead and just pull down to, well, you can see all the other red language that was added to this part, which we had discussion about last time. But it kind of explains the why of what's going on there. Do you guys want to read it, or do you want me to read it, or? And by the way, I've read those. There were some parts that weren't pertinent to us, but a big part of the Grantwood Corridor Management Plan was very pertinent to our county.
any comments on the addition?
The only thing I have is on page 15, in the second paragraph, where you say the CMP for the GWSB, I think we need to define what those are. When you
Okay.
just put it, I know what it is,
Yeah,
but I
but
mean,
Brent-
it's.
Well, it shows in the
I
first.
found
but-
out, I figured
Yeah.
out what, it doesn't
Yeah,
show.
it was-
anywhere.
No, we should probably put that in the definitions.
Or just put it in abbreviations after first time you see
Yeah.
Grantwood Scenic Byway.
Put it in
Referred to
Yeah.
as.
Put it in
So-
parentheses afterward and then.
Yeah, so on the bottom of page 14, where it says the Grantwood Scenic Byway, put in parentheses, the GWSB,
Close parentheses,
yeah, close parentheses.
and then
And then the CMP, the comprehensive,
Corridor
or
Management
the
Plan.
corridor management plan, so put. CMP after corridor management plan on the top of page 15 in parentheses. And then that way, when you go into the next paragraph, the
it's
CMP for the GWSB will be defined. Yeah, you're right. You are correct.
And there are other things in there, but where I see this entire section has formatting issues, there are more things.
Huge formatting issues.
Yes.
Yep,
So that's why, yeah,
yep.
there are more things like
that's
how,
where you're gonna.
yeah.
And I did my dangest, I could not get those to budge over like the rest of it. And that's why the note's just there.
Mhm.
And And I'll keep some of those notes there after I've doctored up and sent it to Sandra and Christine.
Like one of them, I will say, development such as wind turbines could have a great impact on the intrinsic resources of the byway and view shed. A byway can't own anything. It's not a personal thing.
Yeah.
Where is it at? I'm
So
sorry.
English,
Which paragraph on page 15?
Yeah,
the byway it's in an apostrophe on the second paragraph on page 15.
In red.
this
Got it.
WSB points out the byways, apostrophe S, yeah, that's not.
Okay,
And that's in there a couple, so I'm not going to keep bringing up all that because somebody's gonna look it over and going to look it over.
Yep.
You and Chris are gonna look it over, Sandra.
So also
Not me,
we've got,
not good at that.
also we've got National Great River Road, which I guess does run through the county, then we talk about the Iowa Great River Road. Is that just restricted to Iowa then, or should we call it the same thing in both?
No,
We can
they're,
do
they're
it.
two different, so Highway sixty-four
Sorry, not a native.
is the, I know, he Texas person, so the Highway sixty-four is the Iowa byways, because that's a state highway, not a US
No,
highway,
okay.
so Highway 52 that runs through Bellevue from Dubuque down through Clinton.
That's
Highway
Iowa.
52 is a US highway.
Ah, okay.
And that's the difference, because it's
Okay.
been a designated national scenic byway.
Got it.
But 64, since it's a state highway, has been designated a state scenic byway.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
But part of the county roads in Jackson County are also part of the.
Correct, yes,
Grant-
because the
yeah.
state has
And there's-
designated that,
Did you say
yes.
64 was part of a scenic byway?
64 is part of a scenic byway, the
Where?
Grant Wood scenic byway.
Oh, just part of the Grant Woods, got it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, yeah, that's.
Yeah, because it starts at Andrews, so it's got county roads involved in that too, but the state designated that.
Correct, that's the
So
state.
that-
does it.
Yeah,
And-
so,
And truthfully, so I can do the National Great River Road, I can do either because it's the part of the Great River Road. And actually, the national,
the National Scenic Byway. It's a
yeah, is
National
now
Scenic
an
Byway.
all-American road,
Right.
which has greater significance than just being,
A National Scenic Byway.
yep,
So
so
do we
it
want to
has
do that instead of our both,
all-American,
if it's more significant?
You
It's-
probably should put, instead of the National Scenic Byway, put the Great American
all-American road.
or All American Road, because that, yes.
And it's still part of the MRPC, Mississippi River
River.
Parkway Commission
Right.
that oversees it. Let me work on that.
Work on that, because,
Okay.
yeah, because, yeah,
And then gain consistency over it.
Mhm. All right, for the changes though that are there. I can't remember, did I get a motion in a second? Okay, so let's do a motion in a second. Do I have a motion in a second?
I'll make a motion.
Okay. Have a second?
Sure, second,
Okay.
just trying to spread the wealth here.
Yeah, really.
All right, any other discussion? On this, and we'll get some clarification on the National Scenic Byway and the Great River Road, and Lori will get that designated for the next one. Yeah,
Sorry.
all right, any other discussion on this? If not, I'll call for a vote, all in favor of the changes? Aye, any opposed? Okay,
Okay. So the next part is section 10, development buffers around incorporated city limits within Jackson County. The part that's in red and blue there, I'm recommending we remove that sentence.
My recommendation is we remove everything except the last part that says no CWEX shall be built within 2 miles of an incorporated city limits. And that way it covers everything.
Okay,
We don't have to.
Will you print that out?
go with
Those others.
just the Preston Bellevue and the Coconut.
Yeah, because
Well, no,
it makes
it's-
a difference.
Well,
yeah,
those will be there, but around any city,
They've done that. So
Right.
they've done that.
right? So do I have a second on
I have a
that?
question.
And then we'll discuss.
I wanted to go back to that, I can go back to the place now.
Right. Do I have a second on that and then we can discuss?
Second,
All right,
what was the motion?
To cut everything out except for no CWEX shall be built within 2 miles of an incorporated city limits.
Yeah, okay. I thought that's what you meant. I just want to make sure.
Gotcha.
all right. Any other discussion on that? So any city, incorporated city in Jackson County, so that does not include Fulton, Canton,
Nashville,
Nashville,
Green Island,
yeah, or Green Island.
Emmeline, Slabtown, Sterling.
Iron Hill.
Where is Sterling at?
Down by 4 miles.
Miles is incorporated though, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
but yeah, there's a lot of little
They're
nooks
not,
and
but
crannies.
those aren't regulated by anything either, are they?
Right.
They're regulated by
But-
county.
The reason we're going with 2 miles is because this is defendable, isn't it?
Yes.
And
It is.
we got Brenda over here and we know that Miles is asked for,
10.
yeah, and that's,
No,
that's the reason we're doing this.
Yeah.
3.
No, we're.
Miles asked for-
They're asking for 3, Sebula was asking
No.
for 10.
Oh, Sebula was
Yeah.
10, okay.
So the reason I left some of that wording in there, code, basically, it's to prevent locking up land for potential future city expansion. If I could keep that in there someplace, because that,
What difference does it make?
Well, if we keep the last,
miles.
if we keep the last sentence to maintain a consistent buffer around the communities in our county and is not to impede future expansion to allow for the possible future city development, no CWEX shall be built within 2 miles of an incorporated city limits.
I think it just spells out why we're doing this and shows that we put some thought into it, and it's just not arbitrary language.
What
I-
happens when the city expands into that 2 miles?
Then
Then the 2 mile expands.
And then the CX is on that.
Well.
I know.
But
Not if
I
you're already
think
there.
we can't go future. I mean, that's just it.
I mean, if something's already built, but at the same time, if there's annexation,
Yeah.
and there's nothing there, they've just,
Mhm.
they've developed out. But anyway, you guys, I mean, I'm just throwing up things that other people have brought up, just trying to spell certain things out as not to sound like we're just grabbing at numbers.
All right.
Okay, so just to clarify,
We have a
they
motion
have
out
the,
there, we've got a motion out there, do I have a second, just to keep the last sentence, which is to maintain a consistent buffer
Put this
around
way,
the community.
I'll withdraw my motion.
You're gonna withdraw it, okay.
And I'll withdraw my second that you didn't hear.
Oh, sorry.
so I'm just
No,
asking,
you're just
so
like my
even
husband,
though
I don't
we
hear half
limited
what
to
you
the
say.
2 miles,
What?
if the city owns that 2 miles, nothing can be built within that next amount of footage from the
Okay.
property line, right?
So
So
basically.
2 miles plus
No,
already.
let's,
No.
no, there's, okay, so you have a boundary, a city boundary.
Right,
And so you take that city boundary and you go out 2 miles. Period.
2 miles from the.
Mhm.
2 miles
from the
from
city
any
limits.
boundary.
Limits.
Uh-huh.
which
Any
you're
city
probably going
limits.
to find somebody bordering in that 2 miles already,
Somebody what?
some property.
Oh, there'll be
I mean,
lots
is
of top properties.
Right,
Yeah,
right, so they already have the full 2 miles, plus on top of that, the restriction from the property line
yes. that's
of that
correct.
person. So
Yeah, the
it's
1,500 feet.
automatically going to be more than the 2 miles already.
Oh, I
Even
see
if-
what you're saying, sure.
Even if we're not getting to the full 3 miles, it's going to be 2 miles plus, no matter
Oh, I see
what.
what you're saying.
Yes,
Yes, it would be.
Quarter.
At least 2 1/4.
Mhm.
Yes.
Depending then if there's another person within a 1/4 mile of that, it's still going to, it's not going to take very long to get to that 3 miles.
Correct.
Okay,
I mean, but it's still, yeah, but we're still looking at for
right,
our definition or our
right. But
ordinance, it's
for all practical purposes, it's really not just going to end at the 2 miles.
right. It wouldn't be built
Right.
likely on that mark,
Right.
not likely.
Okay, so I'll ask for another motion in a second.
So do we leave the whole, is this what you're recommending, Lord, is leave the whole first sentence in? And then just go with no CWEX shall be built within 2 miles of incorporated city limits? Does that suffice?
I start with no CWEX shall be built within 2 miles of an incorporated city limits.
And then put the first sentence in?
Only part of it. No CWEX shall be built within 2 miles of an incorporated city limits to prevent locking up land for future city expansion.
Potential future city. I'll make the motion with just what she said.
So no CWEX shall be built within 2 miles of an incorporated city limits to prevent locking up land for potential future city expansion. All right, do I have a second?
Yes, second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All right, if not, I'll go ahead and call for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Nay. Chris is opposed. One opposition. Motion passes. All right, I think that is all on that.
We gotta go back to
I have
the
this
purple.
question on the end of 9. The red there, the very last part.
Okay.
Do we need to specify some of these other places or,
I have a list.
well, I mean, I don't know if you want to go into the laundry list, but I don't.
I can, that's up to you guys, because I did make a list.
How much more land does that take out of consideration, or is it pretty much within?
It's
already designated.
It's already designated within that 5.
Within that 5, but
Yeah.
it's already, okay.
Yeah,
Then
so it's
I'm
already
fine
there.
with that, as long as it's not
Yeah,
somewhere
And-
else.
just to tell you guys, there is a view shed map that is in the corridor management plans. Well, in particularly the Grantwood Scenic Byway. However, the mapping that they used was only 3 miles. You know,
So-
of the view shed, but there are areas where the view shed is much greater.
So
But
so technically, I'm thinking, like for Preston and Miles, who asked for a little bit farther than the 2 miles, the view shed catches them because they're both on 64. So,
Well, but the scenic byway doesn't start, it starts in Andrew and goes over.
well,
However, but Preston is covered by Highway 52 within the 5 miles there, correct?
no, Preston is not. And neither is Miles. Miles misses it on the east side about, by half a mile or something on the east side of
Okay.
Miles.
But the view shed could cover that.
Yes, it could.
yeah, because I was gonna say,
Right.
because the view shed is the view shed, and that can go out 10 miles.
Right, because the view shed might be, yeah, if you're coming in off, another area. Yeah, and if, of that road, and actually the Grantwood Scenic Byway starts at the Great River Road, just south
it
of
does.
Bellevue. It comes
Oh.
down 362nd Avenue. And then it,
So then that covers them with the grant.
no, it doesn't hit.
It doesn't.
No, it just
Kristen?
goes short.
Okay.
It goes a little short. It goes short of Spragueville a little bit, coming in from the north.
But the view shed,
From-
from us
oh,
putting in the
from-
view shed from both of them will cover that.
Yeah,
Very
Okay,
probable,
that's
yes.
kind of what I was getting
That's-
at.
yeah.
Because if you're sitting at the four-way stop in Springbrook.
Yeah.
Which is the corner of it, and you're looking southeast.
Right,
You got a great view there.
right.
Yeah,
Mhm,
Yeah, you see a long.
so that's, yeah,
mhm.
And how many miles between Preston and Miles? Is that 4 miles? And east of Preston, we're going 2 miles, and west of Miles, we're going 2 miles. So we're covering west of Miles, 3 miles, because of the east of Preston, 2 miles. Right?
That's clarification.
Okay,
I
you
need a
guys,
fi-
I
I need
do
a 5-minute
have
break.
a buffer, okay. And
Let's
I have
take
a buffer
5-minute
map,
break.
you guys, I'll send to you guys
Okay.
to
Yeah,
show
that'd be
you what that looks like,
Okay.
okay? All right. Gotta show you what Della did.
Okay. It would be out on the shelf.
Yeah.
No, not that, right?
Yeah.
That's cute.
I know, she's so great. She might, it's so right, she did her gingerbread houses.
Okay.
So she might have seen.
Mhm. That's fine.
Yep.
Now she really put something like, let's see what the wording kind of.
This is just. Oh, like I'm gonna write a poem, no way. Oh, look at this.
No. That's what I was thinking. I'm pretty sure. Oh, that's what I am. Edible. Yeah. Looks like anything happened here to do, right?
I couldn't. You've got talent that I don't have.
Oh, and she thinks, I mean, she can still like, I don't know. And
I am,
I just wanna play it.
oh, she says it's the first for her.
Oh, okay.
Words.
Yeah. One down for everything.
And see my.
What am I looking at?
Here, just, I'll show you that part first.
It's the great understanding by the way.
Right.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Mhm.
We have a good meeting next Thursday.
Is that reasonable?
Well, you know.
It'll be a bigger time Wednesday.
Bigger price.
Yeah, yeah, we're.
I'm talking about Billy's.
We could go.
Right.
Yeah, Billy's. That's what I'm talking about. And I'm
Sorry,
talking
I
about,
can't show you what
where
we're
you
looking
guys
at.
get over there. If you go to your place and go to your place, then it's big.
That's a big try.
Then you get that huge shit.
Yeah, then you-
Okay?
Then why don't we can control what?
Yeah.
Is a trustee.
I know, that's why someday Brenda's gonna make me sign some paperwork.
I think I know who's trustee.
Oh, no, what he said, Brenda's gonna make me swear.
Yes.
Hard to get them sometimes.
For that?
It's hard to get them sometimes.
Yeah.
So you-
Let me see.
Well, I already go down there. Okay, keep going. I mean, well, no. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I'll-
Yeah. I hope to be good. One, two, four,
No, I don't.
Go right through. I got. A meeting all morning tomorrow, and then tomorrow afternoon for the meeting, so I. You're gonna what?
Tomorrow,
So what are you gonna do? Are you getting a new job? Where? Okay, fair enough.
Once you pass it.
So now you must travel maybe or?
Everything.
Actually, it's only a month for the.
Yeah, next week.
So the next meeting, I'll take all the
It's-
employee.
Oh my God, no.
Serious. Yeah, serious.
So you're hoping that, well, apparently you've been offered. Yeah, send off. Yeah, right.
And there was great celebration.
That's what I'm saying.
As long as you pass the drug test. No, you don't need drugs in your system, but it's high level.
It'll be a good one.
Right. Kathy would be able to talk loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There might have been something involved, yeah. right.
Is everybody ready to go back? Okay.
Yes, we are. Okay,
So
so
what, did we get your question answered there, at the end of number 9, then Christine?
Oh, yes, yes,
Okay, so we're good.
yeah.
All right, so we're gonna go back to where we were. We finished off with, section 10
yes.
and,
I don't think
there's an extra page here, you guys.
Yes.
Yeah, what,
Very fair, yes.
That is something your zoning minister forgot to add previously.
okay.
And the realization hit, this
This
morning.
morning, yeah. we
And I'm like,
talked about-
oh crud. So anyway, we had talked about honoring buffer strips established, and this goes back. This goes back to when we had our joint meeting with the
Right.
board of supervisors. Honoring buffers established by neighboring counties. Jackson County shall honor any protection buffers that are placed around specified areas by neighboring counties that should that buffer extend into our county.
And I know we've talked about this, but I'm still having heartburn about allowing following buffers because we're not restricting what this is about. So they could put anything in not related to a wind ordinance.
Well,
This is in their window.
No, but this isn't specific enough to suit
oh, I can add a couple more words.
that would say wind ordinance.
Sure,
Because they could put
Okay,
any buffer in,
got it,
and that's my concern.
got it. Got it. So Jackson County shall honor any wind protection, wind energy,
I would say wind energy.
related
ordinance.
to their, honor any buffers related to their, wind energy, their WEX ordinance.
Yes,
Okay,
that's what
What do we
I
call
would,
what are we calling?
we call them,
Or WEX.
call them CWEX.
CWEX or.
So any CWEX ordinance, because if we allow this in here, there are other ordinances that they could put in that are unrelated to wind, to WEX, to CWEX.
I'm adding it and I'll read it again.
In the.
And I think we need to spell it out, because if we don't, guess what?
There should be 100 feet from private ones.
Okay, hang on here. I'm writing it
I
in.
spent too much time.
Jackson County shall honor any protection buffers that are placed around specified areas by neighboring counties in relationship to their CWEX ordinance, comma, should that buffer extend into our county?
Sure.
I make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay.
All right,
Let's get this thing
You
done.
Any
can
other
pick up my
dis-
grammar later.
Okay, any
That
other,
would be good, that's fine.
okay,
Yeah.
With
any
the
other
format.
discussion on this? If not, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of this?
All right.
Aye. All right.
Yeah, no, you guys don't have me writing anything new to add or doing any research, and I'm like, thank you so much.
All right.
So, anything else you guys wanna add as we finish off the wind part?
No, not right now. I don't think. Does anybody else have anything? Okay.
Okay, so that was the work session, and then there's items from the public, 3-minute limit.
If anybody has any discussion other than wind ordinance,
Agenda items. Oh, yeah, that is the agenda item.
yeah. They can speak now. If not, okay. Items from commission. I think Laura had one that she wanted to present.
Yeah, that was, we're gonna do that under new business, but how
Oh, yeah,
about we do that
okay,
now?
Do you have any other business or does anybody else have any other business?
I do. So I want to make note that we have the third Monday of each month tentatively marked each month, and this room reserved for each of those meetings.
Okay.
Are you guys all still good with following through with the third Monday of each month? That's no, okay,
I don't think anybody,
As a general rule, that works. There might be an occasion when there's conflict, but
right,
as a general rule, it works.
because I know you guys are on other committees, commissions, boards, and
Yeah.
just trying to get another night would probably be next to impossible.
yeah,
So-
this has kind of been this has been the standard for as long as I have been here.
As long as I've been here, we've done it on third Monday.
I just think that's the way to keep it.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right, I just wanted to throw that up and make sure you guys knew that we do have those blocked and ready
yeah,
to go on the calendar. So you ready for the new business? And
we are.
And let's get Laura.
Yep.
Laura,
Laura,
you-
are you ready?
You can unmute yourself, Laura, if you want. There you are.
Yep.
Hey. We're not hearing you, Laura.
I'm not saying anything yet.
No,
not
still
hearing
can't
you.
hear you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Is that on my end?
Can you hear me?
I don't hear. It
Can you hear me?
should be on my end. Laura, no, I'm not hearing you.
I don't know sign language either.
Oh, no. Laura, do you want to try to call in?
Oh, wait, take the mute off.
Oh, just a second. No, she was unmuted.
Okay, asked unmute.
Go ahead and unmute yourself,
Somebody's
Laura.
muted though, because.
Yeah, Laura, you're still
Yeah.
showing muted.
Where?
Okay,
Here.
can you hear me now?
Okay, she
No,
took her off.
Still can't hear you.
Do you want to call in, Laura?
Weird.
I know the speaker works because when you dial in, I can hear.
Here, Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I haven't been with anything, so I know it's working because she did it.
This is a sign.
Trying to get through.
This is a sign.
Welcome to enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
What's yours by dialing or what's yours? What was yours on Zoom? It was on Zoom. Okay, and you just did it.
Enter your participant ID followed by pound. Otherwise, just press pound to continue. You are in the meeting now. There are 4 participants
Yeah,
in
because
the
we,
meeting. This meeting is being recorded. You have been added to the waiting room.
okay, Laura, can we hear you now? Laura.
Oh, geez.
Hello, can you hear me
Laura,
now?
let's unmute you on your phone.
Can you hear me now?
Laura, can you unmute your
I
phone?
want to look at the way back. I saw it on the way by. I don't want to look at the way back.
No, did you read it?
It doesn't even, I don't want to, no, no. I'm sure it is.
No, not yet. You're still
It is
muted.
funny, yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Your phone, your computer's unmuted, but I'm still not hearing you. And we actually accidentally tested our speakers before. No.
We have a joke.
I'm gonna hang up and try again.
We're not hearing you at all, Laura.
No. We actually tested our speakers accidentally before, so we know we're working. Yeah, I moved her.
Where's your brother in the current now?
He's a partner in Minneapolis.
Oh, she.
He would ask me that.
Feel free to talk amongst yourselves, share holiday
Already have.
recipes or whatever you want to do here.
Fox Rothschild.
All right, Laura, let's see if you're,
My brother's been.
okay, it says we're connecting to audio
He's
for
not
you.
managing partner anymore. He was.
You're muted.
He's been a partner.
All right, Laura, let's try this.
He consolidated with them, so it's something bakery and that's.
You hear me?
It's a big firm.
No,
Yeah.
What's your brother's name?
Mike Stewart.
she's unmuted. Yeah. Yep, she is unmuted.
Which firm?
Do you just want to call my phone, Laura, and I'll try to put you on speaker? I mean,
Sure.
and we'll see what we can do.
Consolidated.
Yep.
Bakery and Benson.
You guys, she's gonna call my phone.
Okay.
And we'll just try to turn my speaker up as loud as possible.
Something everywhere.
I learned to have an outside speaker. I was just thinking of the same thing.
Yes.
This one.
Yeah.
All right, Laura, I'm gonna try to turn this up as loud as we can. All right, go ahead.
Can you hear me all right?
Can you guys hear her?
We can, yeah.
Yeah, we can hear.
Okay. Basically, what I just wanted to let you know is that we have a contract now to work with Jackson County to update the zoning ordinance. The information that I've provided for your packet is really just for your information. There's no action necessary. I just wanted you to be aware that we are starting the process this month and we'll be coming to your meetings for work sessions from January through June. There's a project schedule that's on the last page of the scope. And really, I don't have a presentation. I just want to let you be aware that we're starting and looking forward to working with you. And if you have any questions, I will try to answer them.
So
So
just
this,
briefly, what's the scope of it?
You asking me or her?
Yes,
Okay, can I go ahead and answer that, Laura? And you can correct me if we need to. The scope is to rewrite our zoning ordinance.
so
all
And
of it,
that's where I'm getting at.
and
with,
put it in.
we need to redo definitions. We need broader descriptions of things. We need additional special exceptions. There's things that we might need to remove out of special exception or conditional use into permitted use. There's the look at rezoning particular areas of the county that our Board of Adjustment sees the most cases on. Those smaller lots in the county.
So can I ask you, I know this is gonna be a challenge, to send, when I started, I got a copy of all of the ordinances that were there. Can you send out the ordinances to all of the board members to review? Because I know it was kind of a, it's kind of not in order.
Kind of.
I'm trying to be nice, okay? We do need a revamp and a reorganization of how things are written.
Mhm.
So if you could send that to everybody so that they know what ECIA is starting with.
Starting point.
Oh, okay. Okay,
I think that would be helpful to everybody. I don't know.
Mhm.
John, did you get a copy of everything when you first came on to? Okay.
and Laura, part of that'll be, is that part of it, of the, what you typically do, go over what we already have, or not really?
Well, I'll show you what you have and what I'm recommending you.
Okay,
revise.
got it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's, yeah.
Okay,
I was assuming we'd get like you've been doing on the wind ordinance, a red line, type of a thing and how to reword it, so to speak. You're not gonna make it up from whole cloth, so,
right.
no, but
It'll-
we've got, that our whole thing is not, it's not organized well. It's kind of mismatched and it just, yeah.
yeah, I get it.
I am so thankful we have ECIA to help us, because this would not, there's gonna be, the way it's divided up is there's gonna be some work done by this office,
Mhm. Yeah, I know.
and the clerical stuff, she
No,
can
but it's,
out-type Laura and I both.
yeah, and I mean, it's just, it's not well organized and, it really should be. I mean, it's just not well organized in topics and where it should be. And yeah,
And Laura, I probably interrupt, I should have probably let you do that scope, and I apologize.
Oh, okay, you did fine.
Okay. But yeah, and Laura's helped Delaware County, right? Oh, you want to tell them what ordinances you recently worked on?
Well, for county ordinances, I wrote the ordinance for Delaware County. And then I've recently finished one for the city of Asbury.
So do you think this timeline is realistic?
I do.
Okay.
We're gonna have a lot of, the comprehensive plan, this, we have a pretty good idea of what we need to get done. And so we're gonna try and do as much of that ahead of time with the commission. So when we get to the public hearings, we've got something that responds to your needs.
does this also include, I mean, the next thing that, hopefully we can send this wind ordinance to the Board of Supervisors next meeting. And then we need to dive into the battery storage and solar. Does this kind of jive with how we're planning on that, or?
She's not, they're not working with that.
Yeah, I suppose the better question is to you, and I think, last month I kind of scoffed at at the timeline there. If we are working, like she said, with these other things, can we fit this all in and keep moving forward on the solar and the battery stuff?
I think at some point, I think we're gonna end up working on them simultaneously.
Great.
Well, but so many of them, there's the same concerns when you're talking about the solar and the battery storage in some cases. And you know, if you're gonna have a public hearing on one, might as well cover both at the same time.
Okay.
Because we have the battery storage thing with the wind ordinance too.
Because that's, yeah,
But so it has
that's
to
something
come
we
under
should have
it.
hit at the same
Yeah.
time and didn't. But yeah, that is not part of their scope, to do the solar and the, battery storage.
But the battery storage should come under the general zoning thing, right? It's just.
No, not the battery storage, well, I don't, that wasn't part of what the agreement was with the Board of Supervisors.
No, but I think the battery storage should be separate from the solar. I
Because
think,
It
has
will
to
be
cover the
separate.
wind, too.
right,
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
it will be
Yeah, so we'll
separate.
do solar and battery storage will be two separate ones, but we can work on them.
Because we have to use the wind.
What about data centers?
Sure.
We might be working, that might be able to go in. Laura, did we talk about,
I don't want to.
data,
Get a truck.
data processing centers?
They're coming.
You said you're writing something up about them too.
Okay, all right, so that'll be separate, or something we can
So,
get written up.
so that'll be here, that won't be her.
Right, and Laura, if we write that up, is that something we can throw into the ordinance if I have it? If I get the
Yes.
language?
If that's, if you want it to be part of the zoning ordinance, you could, or if you want to keep it separate, you could do that.
Okay. All right, we can let the commission decide at some point on that, for sure, okay? All right,
Can I ask like how many pages this ordinance is? Is this something you're sending to us in like paper format? So we make notes ahead of time, or is that anything? We're not even going to talk about it until it's presented to us.
yeah, we don't really know how big it's gonna be, it'll probably be more,
But I mean, the one that's currently there.
The
that we're
current?
going
I
to.
can
It's about
send you
like
that.
this.
No, it's
Yeah,
only like 40 some pages. Oh, you're talking everything, all the
yes,
ordinances, even some that are no longer ordinances.
yeah.
Okay, we can work on that. We gotta, I think you found, I think you
Like a
found
little panicked over there.
the book. We will look, but the actual zoning ordinance itself is only like 40 some pages.
No, but the ordinances that we've passed.
Okay,
I'd like to read it.
well, some of the
I've
ordinances
got-
that have been passed to are rezonings, where they've taken a 2-acre parcel and changed it from ag to industrial, or they've taken a 1-acre parcel and classified it from ag to res,
I'll
or,
bring,
excuse me,
I'll
zone
bring
it.
in my book for Rebecca to look at.
Okay, okay. And we can find all those and, actually, it might,
Do you know when we did the rewrite on that? Years ago?
I'm not sure what changed, if there was little changes done in 2018 or if there were big changes.
No, there
No, I'm talking about in the early 2000s, we did David Manning, when he was here,
And
we
that's
did
the
a,
copies that I have, are
Yeah.
the ones from David Manning, because
Yeah.
I think I've been.
well, early in the two
When did
thousands,
you
we,
start on this board?
oh, like, 1900s.
I know.
You're looking pretty good.
Well, thank you very much.
I can look, because I'm the working draft that I'm using right
I was
now,
gonna say, cause I think I've been
Or-
on 10.
or excuse me, the working ordinance I'm using right now is from, I think, 2018.
Oh, I think we had another one before.
But that might have been little piddly.
That
something.
was small.
I
Yeah.
will, I'll bring my book in.
Okay, and remember, there was also language changes that when Laura made, what was that in like January of 23, Laura, that we had put, went to the commission and we did, changes that were,
Oh,
like
all the-
gender,
Yeah, the gender
and-
stuff, yeah.
and then there was a few other,
But the original ones, I'll bring my book in. 'Cause
okay, I have them somewhere, but we'll find them.
I'll bring it in, that way you can. Yeah,
Okay, all right,
because I got that mailed to me in paper copies.
so there's your answer.
So the 40 some odd page thing is just like the general,
Yeah, but this.
and your book
all
is
the-
full of like, okay.
Other
All the
things.
exceptions.
Exceptions,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, which there's a few out there. And, Laura, can you better talk about, the zoning map changes that we're possibly looking for?
Basically creating that separate residential district.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay,
So what Lori has asked us to look at is to create an ordinance amendment that would create a new zoning district. I'm gonna call it an alternative residential district for discussion purposes here. What it does is it takes the existing development and the regulations for setbacks and height and lot area are written to reflect what's actually there. So the actual existing development. So it moves from non-conforming to conforming and thereby eliminates a lot of cases going to the zoning board of adjustment for setback, special exceptions or that sort of thing. It makes it easier for everyone to administer because the regulations reflect the development on the ground as it exists.
Okay.
And some of those areas are gonna include probably Leisure Lake.
Is this gonna fix Leisure Lake?
Well, it might, nothing's gonna fix Leisure Lake, but it will make it more user friendly. That along with like Dressler's, probably Cheney's, Daggett's, the area up north of Bellevue, like Placid Drive and all that, and the area called Duck Creek, south of Bellevue, and Kurth Edition. Those were all subdivisions that were platted pre-1976. And I don't know what the thinking was to lump them all into R1 because they didn't fit then and they fit even worse now.
Okay.
Okay, all right, we look forward to that. Thanks, Laura.
You're supposed to be. Can you hear how much fun my commission's having here, Laura? No.
It's just as well, just as well.
You can just imagine.
Yeah, they said it's probably better that way. So, but they heard you, they could all hear you well.
All right.
It'll be fine.
So anything else you want to add, Laura?
No, just looking forward to working with you again and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, everyone.
Yeah,
Thank
Merry
you.
Christmas.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye.
All right.
But before you end, please, if you don't mind, I want you all to take into consideration, and I've talked to 2 other zoning administrators today, just to see where we needed to be. And Monica, we kind of visited on that, and
I think we're ready that we put this thing together, we hold our public hearing the next meeting in January and send it off. I think we're done.
which would be open to public comment.
Yep,
And any changes that you want to make will be recommended to be
during the
changed.
meeting and then sent on, because there isn't any reason why we need to do another. I don't think there's anything else that we can add into here.
We've gotten to the point, we've put a lot of time into this, and
We put too much time into this.
a lot, I do agree.
So then the benefit of the public hearing would generally be for the
It's required.
supervisors.
No,
I know it's
right, yeah.
required, but if we're not gonna change anything,
After, that's why I was just gonna say, so what you're giving us is gonna be basically the final draft.
Yeah, you guys
But
can make
not-
changes at that point.
I
At the
think
end of the
we-
meeting.
I don't think we add the supervisors in. We know what their feelings are in this. I think we go through with the public hearing and send it on.
Yeah, and then if there's changes you choose to make after the public hearing part of it, you still can.
Yes, we would make them that
that
night
night.
and
So-
send it off.
So I'm clear on what we're gonna do. We're gonna come in here, we're gonna have a work session where we finish up what we didn't do tonight. 'Cause there was a couple-
We've got,
Well, I thought there was a couple things that you were gonna need approved yet. Rewrites or not?
You're, waiting for a comment from the sick person.
right, and if we don't, I'm guessing we're not gonna get any comment from them.
So then we're gonna go straight into public hearing,
Mhm.
and then we'll decide if we wanna add or delete something, and then it goes on.
Yep.
Okay, that's all I'm getting at.
There'll still be some red in there, and then you can do your work session
Well,
following that.
well, yeah, that's cause what I was talking about, you're gonna reformat that one and all that, so we do that after the public hearing, that's what I'm saying.
Okay,
not
Or they
before.
can, I anticipate being able to knock these out fast because I'm not recreating anything or inventing language or trying to beg and
All
borrow.
I'm getting at is I don't wanna,
Sandra can get all the proofreading done and yeah.
So I have a question then. So you're required to have public hearings. I guess if you're gonna have public hearings, shouldn't you give them a final?
This is what
Correct.
we're planning on,
It would
so,
be,
So that they could,
it will be,
they will be able to see it.
it will be final draft again, kind of like what we had in October.
That'll be posted to the website so the public can see it before the meeting.
Will it have the
Yes.
red stuff that we're gonna be addressing at the
Yeah.
meeting?
It can have the new language in it, yes, but I don't have to make it red.
it won't be read, it will be the final for what we approved tonight.
Okay,
I think the only quote red comment should be from the person who was sick, which I don't think we're gonna get any comment from them.
okay.
Cause, yeah,
So
cause
the only changes between tonight and then will be the proofreading.
Yep,
Grammatical
yes,
And-
and so you and it's Sandra, you have,
Well, that might be a big task to get done.
we've got
Yeah,
28 days.
well,
We have to have it done.
The New Year's.
we have Christmas and I'm
Yeah,
gone a week.
and
so.
truthfully, if we could have it,
Anywhere.
you know, like a week before the public hearing
Yeah.
to get it posted to the website, so people have a chance to digest it.
It's not required, but it would be nice to
Right.
have that.
It's not required.
It's not required. It has to go out 24 hours in advance, which, you know, really should be the Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday before.
Well, that's the agenda. The draft has to be out too. No, because remember, we don't have to provide the draft.
We do not have to provide.
So we wouldn't necessarily have to adhere to that. However,
But
But to
To keep
be,
screaming down.
to keep transparency open, to have it out, you know, the week before would be nice.
I agree.
Not required by law, but
But
it would be
transparency
nice.
is always good.
Yes.
what I was getting at there was, if we're gonna do anything before the public hearing, it ought to be quick and precise. And then get to public hearing, so we don't have people, you know, antsy, roaming around their seats waiting to talk. That's what I was getting at.
I would recommend going straight into the public hearing.
And
Yeah.
that's what I was
Yeah,
getting at
that's
as
what
well.
I'm getting at, because I think we've got everything in it that we need.
Okay.
I don't think we need to do anything more
Right.
and
It's
put it
just
out
grammar.
there. Yep.
Okay.
The one caveat that, my counterpart in Johnson County talked to me about, and it's one of those where if you know there's something that your board of supervisors wants in that ordinance, now's the time to put it in there, because when you make that recommendation, there's the more changes, if they just make teeny tiny changes, no big deal.
Right.
If they take out a section or add a section, that's where it can either come back to you guys again for review potentially. And that's where, well, you sent a letter to the county attorney about that, which will hopefully have an answer on that forthcoming.
So one of the concerns is about there's one comment from the Board of Supervisors about putting a buffer around the airport. My concern with that is if we put a buffer around the airport, which right now it's all covered, the buffer is already covered with the Grantwood Scenic Byway. My concern is the comments that we got from the one member of the Board of Supervisors on the FAA is somebody said, you know, they prefer to have the county put something in from the FAA. That FAA member is not an attorney.
Or that person that was concerned about.
Yes,
Okay.
it's not an attorney. They're a representative of the FAA and they said that they were encouraging, you know, counties to put this in. What my problem is, we might put something more restrictive in than what the FAA says is required. When that happens, who supersedes who? Does the federal government supersede because we're more restrictive? I mean, we have seen this in the past, even with state law, where cities have tried to restrict things more than the state, and it's gone to the Iowa Supreme Court, and they said, no, 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 you have to follow what the state says. My question to the county attorney was the same thing. We might put something more restrictive in around an airport. What is the FAA legal department going to do? Are they gonna say, no, you can't do that? That's my concern, and that's why I have a very difficult time putting anything in around airports, because who's gonna supersede who? My gut reaction is the federal government is gonna win.
Oh, yeah.
Or would it be the federal government, or would it be the applicant saying, hey, we need to follow FAA and?
That's my point. And so, and that is why I don't want to add anything around airports, because if we put a 10-mile buffer in around airports, the FAA may come in and say, nope, we can allow 2 miles. Who's gonna win?
Federal,
The federal government.
yeah.
I don't think that is our purpose to buffer the Macokota Regional Airport, because it is governed by the Federal Aviation Administration.
I have a question. In our part where we're saying 2 miles from cities, are we saying 2 miles from city property line?
Yeah, boundaries, yes.
Okay,
The city limits.
Mhm.
or city owned property?
No, city limits.
Okay, because that airport is city owned property. So if we had
But
city
it
owned
covers, but it covers.
can I finish?
Yep.
If we had city owned property, that would include the airport without specifically spelling it out. Because that airport is city owned. And then they would get their buffer.
I can,
But it's covered with the scenic byways, because we've got
Right.
10 miles.
Right, right. So it's more than covered, but if they're specifically wanting something saying city owned property, it's already covered if we word it that way.
but then would we also go back in and do any county owned property?
I don't know, because we're buffering cities, but what is our specific language?
Let's just look at
It
that
says
real
city.
quick. Hang on here. That's towards the end.
30 seconds for you get away.
And yeah, that's okay. That was towards the end, water qualities. Development buffers around incorporated city limits within Jackson County.
What page is that on?
Page 15. No CWEX shall be built within 2 miles of an incorporated city limits to prevent locking up potential future city expansion. So it does say incorporated city limits.
So that's
So
the-
I think it leaves out the airport,
Yeah. that's why I
instead of
wondered
city
if
owned.
we could change that terminology.
The Grantwood Scenic Byway buffers 5 miles, whereas that only buffer would be 2.
Right. But what is the supervisor wanting? Why?
Yeah.
I mean,
They
what-
want a buffer, like a 5-mile buffer around the airport.
right,
It-
but it's already there. So what is the terminology that they want that would cover that?
I think they want it specifically related to,
Airports.
yeah. And like we all know, we're using wide brush strokes already. That encompasses a lot of things. The intrinsic, could the airport be considered one of the intrinsic places or qualities of the county? I don't know, but it's still that I think we're on solid ground with that 5-mile buffer around those scenic byways. And things.
Can you just ask them ahead of time if that's okay?
That's a battle I don't even want to talk. I
No,
do
but
not
mean,
even want to get
in
into
a
it.
conversation, Lori, with them, can you just say, this is a concern? Is
Yeah.
that already covered?
And
Because if they're gonna buck us later on, we might as well take care of it ahead of time.
yeah,
So
I
we're
mean,
gonna-
but I don't know that I don't even know that they are, once we put that in place.
yeah, and they'll be able to make comments with the public next time around too, if they wanted to, and you guys could entertain if you chose to.
Yeah.
And how about I try to give them an advance copy of the ordinance when I get it tweaked even before you guys work your magic on it, okay?
Because it might not even be a point of concern. I mean, it might be okay now.
Yeah.
That they know that today.
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay, the
And,
next, the
and I'm
third,
more than willing to sit down with any of them and visit.
so the third Monday is January 20th. Is that a
Oh, we need a
holiday?
new calendar behind us. Yeah, but we don't, we're not closed.
You're not going to, okay.
Yeah, no, that's still a working, Jackson County. But thanks for asking, because there's other things that have
Great,
occasionally been overlooked that way.
great.
All right, if there's no other business, I have a motion and a second to adjourn.
I'll motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
You're adjourned.
Thank you guys all so much.